All right. Perfect. It's one of those things I always forget to do at the beginning. So, all right. Well, welcome everybody. This is Orientation 2.0. Right now, usually when I do a Zoom, there's me and one other staff. And unfortunately, at the moment, it's just me. So I won't be able to keep too big of an eye on the chat at this moment. So I just ask that as we're going along, if you're welcome to put questions in the chat. I may just not get to it just yet. Or you can save it towards the end. And if I already answered your question, then great. If not, and you still have questions, we'll definitely make some time at the end. I'll hang on a little longer than 7:32. So if anybody has more questions, I'll be available. We will have some folks here to present some different areas of the campus, and during those sections, I will be able to take a peek at the chat. That being said, let's move on to our next slide, if it will work for me. All right, so welcome to Northern Essex. As part of taking attendance, I will just ask that in the chat, you type in your first and last name and what you are most looking forward to this semester. I know for me, I'm just excited for the semester to start and weeks of welcome, which I will share more about soon. That's where I get really excited to see students back on campus because it can be kind of a quiet, lonely summer. All right, so I will start by introducing myself actually after this part. My name is Tiffany Ismario. I'm the coordinator of orientation and student transitions. I've been at Northern Essex now for 5 years. I started out as a college navigator, and then I transitioned into this role. But really, my primary function is just to help train students to be college students and prepare them for getting started. So hopefully today will be an opportunity to kind of fill in some of those gaps and questions you might have had since the time you met with your advisor until, well, really tomorrow when classes start. All right, so how things will go, I'm going to try my best to stick to the schedule. It can be a challenge sometimes, but hopefully internet and everything will be running smoothly for us today. So obviously, right now I'm doing the introduction. Then we will shift into learning a little more about getting the most out of your student life experience. Then we will hear from folks in academic coaching, some tips for you to have a successful semester. We'll hear a little bit from career services. I will explain a little bit about what the NECC library and academic technology has to offer. And the last chunk, I will review some more next steps, to-do items, and I will leave more time for questions. I am aware I'm going to cover a lot of material quite quickly. That's another benefit to me recording this is I will gladly share this recording with all of you, as well as any of the documents or anything that I feel I should add separately to the post email. But yeah, don't feel overwhelmed. Don't feel like you have to write everything down, but you're more than welcome to take notes, write down any questions, and then the goal here really is to try to just get you the most that we can in this short time together, and hopefully you'll feel a little bit more prepared for the start of classes. So, if anybody wants to unmute themselves, what is your first impressions of these photos, besides the fact that it's me, younger me? Anyone? Graduation? Yeah, I see the chat. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying hi because nobody's saying anything.
Okay, well, I appreciate that, Sophie. Hello. I'm glad you can hear me now, so that's good. Yes, graduation. I see success in there. Yes, big smiles on my face. So on the left, that is my high school graduation. In the middle, that's my bachelor's degree graduation. And on the right is my master's degree graduation. These are 3 amazing days in my life. However, they literally are only just 3 days out of my entire life. And it's wonderful to celebrate all those accomplishments on those days. However, there is so much that you don't see that got me to those points. So to get me from high school all the way until my master's degree, that took me 14 years. I'm the first person in my family to go to college, so that means I'm a first generation student. I spent hundreds, maybe even thousands of hours studying, going to class, doing assignments, taking tests, reading, so much reading. um, I had lost some family members. I had my own little mental health roller coaster, which, I think we're a little more aware of these days, but it was definitely a challenge all along the way. Friendships, I made a lot of awesome new friendships, and some of my old friendships just kind of naturally faded away. I had career and major changes, trying to figure out what it is I want to do when I grow up. Employment, I've had part-time jobs all throughout college, and then it transitioned into full-time work, and that has looked very different depending on where I was in my journey. Along the way, I became a military spouse. My husband's in the Coast Guard. We are originally from California, and he got stationed out here in New England. So that's how I came as far as humanly possible from California to here. I have two boys, one of which I had prior to starting graduate school. So I know how it is to do schoolwork and having a child dumping Legos all over the living room. So the reason I bring all that up is there are just some little things that I learned that I hope are worth sharing with students, because there's a lot that goes on when you're in college, and it's not just as simple as going to class. So the main points for me to share with you is that it's really important that you celebrate the journey. It really is about the journey and not the destination. And I know it's kind of cliche, perhaps, but it really is true. Like, those graduation dates are awesome, but there's so much for you to be proud of all along the way. It's important that you acknowledge that school and life are going to intersect. They are not experiences that just kind of run separate of each other. So if, school's getting pretty busy and you've got lots of stuff due or tests coming up, you're going to find you don't have as much free time for yourself, hobbies, time with friends and family, binge watching things on Netflix, whatever the case may be. And vice versa. If you've got a lot going on in your personal life, it's going to make it more challenging for you to focus on school. So it's important to be aware of those things and always checking in with yourself so that you can balance the two. It's really important that you celebrate the small successes along the way. I know sometimes people are really focused on the end and they don't really give themselves permission to be proud of all that they've accomplished, even the little things. So right now, I hope that you feel proud of yourself because you've gotten through a lot of steps, even just to get to this point. From application, taking care of placement, by submitting transcripts or taking the placement test, possibly applying for financial aid, setting up payment plans, doing health insurance waivers, meeting with advisors, registering for classes. There's so much that you've already accomplished even to get to this point. So you really should be proud of yourself. A lot of students give up before they even get to this point, even before they get to the application. So that's really something that I hope you feel proud of. Also, this journey is your own. It is important that you don't compare it to others. I know for myself, some of my friends, they went straight from high school, did all their years of college, and got their doctorate within 8 years. That's not everybody's journey. And if I had spent my whole time comparing myself to how quickly they were going through things, I wouldn't have been able to appreciate all that I was accomplishing. Also, too, everybody's got different situations. Some of my friends had more financial support. Some of them had more emotional and social support. And it would have taken away from my experience if I had focused on, well, how come I don't have that support, or feeling bad about it. So just know that friends and family especially mean well when they comment on how long things are taking or how long they think things should take for you. but ultimately they're not the ones going to your classes. They're not the one doing the work. They're not going to be the ones walking that stage when you make it to graduation. So you can listen to them, but don't let that tarnish how you feel about your journey. Also, a lot of times when people are younger, like myself, when back in the day, I had very black and white thinking of just you're either successful or you're a failure. And that really isn't the case. Over the time, I've learned every time I thought I was a failure, it really just was a challenge and an opportunity for me to learn more about myself and more about how I could do things differently to improve things for myself. So you're going to find that you're going to have challenges, but don't let that get you down. Just try to say, like, to yourself, what is the lesson I can get out of this? And what resources can I use or people can I reach out to help me move on from that? So that brings me to my next point. We really hope that you will find your person or your people, whether it's me, whether it's a professor, an academic coach, your advisor, a classmate. When you connect with people, you're going to feel more connected to the college. But also, too, the earlier you make those connections, it's easier to have someone to start reaching out to if you do need help. And there is going to be a time where you may need some help. I know for myself, I came from a family that was really proud of the fact that they never asked for help, but then they'd get upset that nobody ever helps them. I don't know if anybody else has felt that way as well. But here at NECC, you are your own best advocate. We get little clues that maybe there's something going on if you just stop going to class, or we don't hear from you for a while, or you stop turning in your work. But it's really important that you speak up for yourself, because we aren't mind readers, but there's a lot of us that want to help you get through this. So don't be afraid to ask for help. You're going to hear that probably in multiple places along the way. But we want you to get the most out of this experience. So don't feel like, oh, it's a stupid question, I'm embarrassed. I was that person that had those questions. And ultimately, if you have that question, guaranteed there's other students that have had that question before and will have that question again in the future. So that's just kind of my little spiel of things that I've learned along the way. We're going to kind of shift into more of the tangible things that will hopefully help you feel prepared for the start of school, which is tomorrow. Scary to think a little bit, I know. So unfortunately, we were not able to have a representative from Student Life, so I'm going to speak on their behalf. This is their presentation beyond the classroom, and where they're going with that is college does not have to be just about going to class. You're going to get more out of that experience if you do some other things too while you're here. So Suzanne Reyes, she's the coordinator of student activities. So she's your go-to gal if you have any questions about getting involved on campus or upcoming events, or just wanting to learn more about how you can have either more fun or build more leadership skills while you're here at Northern Essex. So we have the official Office of Student Life. And there's a few goals that they have, which is primarily to support students outside the classroom. They want to make sure that they have created safe spaces that welcome all students. They want to foster student learning and development and provide programs and services for students. So one thing I can say about college is there's so much more I got out of it as my growth as a person that came outside of the classroom, that was not just going to class. And sometimes you can't see it when you're in it, but later on you're able to reflect and be like, oh, wow, look what I learned. And I didn't even realize it. But there are tons of things that you can find under the Office of Student Life. They have clubs, organizations, and interest groups. They offer free student events and activities. They have NSLS, which is a leadership development program, as well as a night student discount program. So they have a couple different office and hangout locations. They are on both campuses, both in Lawrence and Haverhill. In Lawrence, they're primarily in the Dimitri or L building on 45 Franklin Street. And so they have a student life and work study office, and that's where you would find Suzanne. And then they also have the Student Government Association slash clubs slash lounge room. Those are all on the first floor of the building. Basically, just as you walk in the entrance, there's the beautiful mural on the wall. It's the office is like right across from those glass windows. But those are a great place to just chill in between classes or get some quiet study time. They have computers, as you can see, lining the walls. We also in Haverhill have similar. So in the student center is where Student Life resides. They're up on the second floor. They have quite a few different cubes. There's some Student Life work study cubes. They also have some study cubes up there. So if you want a quiet space to hop on a Zoom or just to get your work done away from distractions. There's also, as you can see, some chairs and tables that you can lounge in. Outside of the bookstore, there are also more cafeteria style tables and computers along the wall. And the Student Life office is basically there's a couple glass doors and you walk through the one on the left and that'll take you to the Student Life office. But these are great, even if you're an online only student, you are absolutely welcome to come to campus at any point to take advantage of these things. They're a great place in between classes, before or after, or like I said, if you just need a quiet place to hang out, or if you want to hang out with some of your classmates that you've met. These are student-friendly spaces. In Student Life, they also offer student groups. So we have about 20 plus clubs and organizations and interest groups that you could join. You're not required to join any of them. I highly recommend if there's one that interests you that you just check out, a meeting and then decide if it's for you. I myself am the art club advisor, and we have some events on campus, and we also have meetings online. So we try to do a little bit of everything, but we're always looking for new members and new ideas to make it fun. But there are tons of other clubs. If you don't see a club that you like on the website, you can always start a new club at Northern Essex. There's lots of options for you to just, do the things you enjoy and connect with other people who like that stuff too. There are a couple things you might want to save the dates on. We have the United Club and Resource Fairs. What's cool about this is basically all these clubs, organizations, resources, services that we have. People volunteer to set them all up on a table, and you can meet them all basically within a few hour period. So on the Lawrence campus on Wednesday, October 17th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. in the Dimitri building, and on Wednesday, October 11th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. in the C or Spurk building. You can see tables from all these different places, and they often have free stuff. You can ask questions. There's usually free food. So there are lots of reasons why you might want to check it out. A lot of times students just, if you see tables out while you're walking to class or after class, just stop by and see what's going on, because you might learn something pretty neat that you might enjoy. Let's see, little extra tip. When someone shares a date like this with you, consider writing it down, adding it to your calendar, or taking a picture so you don't forget, because it's really easy to kind of get overwhelmed with information and forget these things. We also have the Student Government Association. This is an independent student-run organization that is designed to further students' rights. They work with the college, they have their own office, and they meet twice a month in both Haverhill and Lawrence, as well as on Zoom. Technically, every student is a member of SGA, so you're always welcome to either go to a meeting, or if you have a concern or something that you think would either be a great thing for the college or an improvement for the college to make it a better student experience, you can email them, or you could attend one of their meetings. If you see that you might want maybe some more leadership opportunities, they also have roles that you can participate in, like president, vice president, etc. Same thing with the clubs and organizations, the other clubs and organizations. But these are really great because you get more involved on the campus, you meet more people, and you get to have more of a voice in the student experience. Student life also has their student leadership opportunities. So one thing I've noticed with some students back when I was an advisor once upon a time is a lot of times people might make comments of, well, everybody has a business degree and they can't find jobs or whatever the case may be. And often I find it's not so much that they have a degree that's not getting them the job. It's that they don't have additional things to market themselves to employers. So when you graduate and you have a degree and you're looking for a job, what else are you able to put on there? So opportunities like NSLS, the leadership organization, or getting involved in SGA or holding a position in a club, these are all things that you can put on a resume and you can start marketing yourself with all these additional skills that you have. It also helps you just when it gets time to interview for things, you're going to be a lot more confident because you're going to have all these other experiences that you can use to essentially sell yourself to future employers. They also offer a leadership conference. I have presented at one before, and it was really cool being able to present to students that are essentially our future leaders and, helping to build that potential and get them excited about their futures as well. So definitely if those are things you're interested in, student life would be worth checking out. There are also opportunities to work for student life. So again, these are additional things that you could put on a resume to really market yourself in the future. These are work study positions. So what that means is if you are a student who has applied for financial aid and been approved, you may also be eligible for a work study position. So that position is paid for through financial aid. It's 15 hours a week for $15 an hour. And it's very flexible around your school schedule. So most jobs you might have outside of school, it would be very much on the employer schedule. So if you got something you got to do, you kind of have to work it around the work, as opposed to here, if you get a job through work study, we understand you're a student first. And so we want to make sure that that comes first, and then we work the work around your school. So they do have a few different options of open positions. There's some receptionists available in Lawrence, marketing assistant, programming assistant. So marketing assistant would be, creating flyers, keeping our social media, well, the student life social media accounts active, things like that. Programming would be assisting with organizing events, essentially. And then we also have the NECC night mascot. So if you've ever wanted to get paid to wear a costume, it's like Halloween all year round. But also too, people don't really recognize you under there, and you can be as silly as you want, and it's not as embarrassing because nobody knows who's under there. If that's something that interests you, you will want to, of course, check with financial aid to see if you're eligible. And if you are, you can contact Suzanne at sreyes1@necc.mass.edu, and she will let you know how to apply and all that. There are some campus traditions to be aware of. I just realized that flyer is very wrong, so ignore this one because that's from winter. Clearly I've been doing things at the last minute. But these campus traditions are regular things that we do here at Northern Essex. And the first one would be Weeks of Welcome. I will share the correct flyer for that a little later. But that's where we have tables set up the first 4 days of school, where you can stop by, get a swag bag. You can ask any questions. So if you're having a hard time finding your class, anybody that has a Weeks of Welcome pin or shirt or is sitting at that table, those are people you can approach to ask questions, and they are willing to help answer them. We also have Wednesday Night Pride. So ideally on Wednesdays, you will wear your blue and gold. You can either just wear the colors based off of clothing you have, If you decide you want to go to the bookstore and purchase NECC gear, you can go ahead and do that. Or there's a lot of times there's free shirts and stuff that are giveaways that you could also earn throughout the year. I already talked about United Fair. We do tons of activities during Hispanic Heritage Month, courageous conversations, International Women's Day. Spring Jam's really fun in the spring because we get to go usually outside if the weather's good and have all kinds of games and arts and crafts, free lunch, all that kind of fun stuff. Before I forget, if you are somebody that came here late, please put your first and last name in the chat just so I can make sure to mark you as attending. Thank you very much. Here's some pictures of Wednesday Night Pride. You can see some of the different types of shirts that we've created or worn. Clearly, I have a lot of that. I've been a few of the pictures. But if you do wear your blue and gold or NECC swag shirts, whatever, on a Wednesday, you can post it to Instagram or Facebook or Twitter, and you can use the hashtag NECCWKP. And different times, Student Life will just pick random students who've shared their pride and send some prizes out. So it's worthwhile to let us know. And also it just, again, helps you get a little bit more out of your experience here. Tons of free events. I'm not going to go over all of them, but clearly like Halloween's a big deal for us. It's not required if it's something you don't celebrate, but I will take any excuse I can to dress up myself. But we've had people teaching dancing. There's a Stuff-A-Bear event that's super popular. It's basically like, I can't think of the name of the thing in them all, but I'm brain dead at this point in the day, but I'm sure you all have seen it somewhere where you pay to stuff the bears, but the difference is it's free to do that here as a student. So yeah, there's always something going on. If you don't know what's going on and you see something happening, always feel free to just stop by and see what it might be. And there's many ways where you can find out what is going on at Northern Essex. So I highly recommend, if you use social media, that you follow the NECC Student Life, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and or TikTok. At Northern Essex, the main college social media pages are another good second option to follow. But they're really good at sharing what events are happening around us and sharing what other things are going on. So if you follow no other page, I recommend that one. But there are lots of other ways to find out what is going on at Northern Essex. This one you're going to hear in many places throughout your time here. Read your emails, primarily the emails sent to your NECC student email address. So if you haven't been able to access that or you haven't really been checking it, try to make that part of your routine. There are TV monitors in various places on the campuses where they usually have different visuals of what's coming up. You can always talk to people if you see Suzanne or myself or people you want to know what's going on this month that you should check out. Odds are we have a pretty good idea. There's often lots of flyers on the bulletin board. So when you're walking through to class, you could just take a peek and see what's there. You can always take a picture. That's my number one way of trying to remember things. We have toilet telegrams that are posted inside the bathroom stall, so you have a little light reading as well as you can see what's going on. The website calendar has tons of events posted there from all different areas of the campus. You can also, like I said, follow social media, and there's many ways in which to find out what is going on. And there's lots of different levels. So I know a lot of you work maybe full-time, you have kids, you don't have a lot of free time. But I challenge you all to consider participating, even if it's just one thing, one event each semester, or check out one club meeting or something like that, because we want you to have a little fun here too. It doesn't always have to be so serious and no fun at all. Last but not least, if you have questions about student life, you can either find Suzanne directly. She does spend time in both the Haverhill and Lawrence campuses in the student life offices. You can also just email the generic student life email. You can call or text the number that you see there. But definitely, if you want to learn more about how to have more fun while you're here and get more out of that time spent and money spent, it's worth getting involved in one way or another. So now that I have talked a lot, I'm going to give academic coaching a chance to share. I am going to give them permission to share their screen because that might be helpful. If I can figure that out, that would be great. Thank you for your patience with my technology here. All right, so I think Sarah, is Denise here as well? I might have saw. Okay,
Denise
perfect.
is here too.
I'm here.
So Sarah and Denise can take it away, and I will take a peek in the chat if there were any questions up to this point. And yeah, thank you all.
Does everyone see the PowerPoint?
I can see it.
So welcome to NECC, or welcome back to NECC. I'm Denise Trinidad, an academic coach in the Academic Coaching Center. Sarah Cordier and I will be presenting an overview of what academic coaching is. Sarah also is, she does academic coaching, and she also does career services in our center as well. So academic coaching, a quick overview of what it is, offers one-on-one coaching to help students develop. Part of my screen is not visible. Give me a second. Develop and improve their academic skills and performance. So what that means is students get to work with an academic coach one-on-one. Your session is just with your academic coach. Your session becomes very tailored, very personalized to your needs. It also helps students, so we help students examine, what are your strengths, what are might be academic barriers, might be personal barriers, or any academic concerns that you have. So those are the things that, overall we do in academic coaching. Once we help students examine those strengths, we help students use those strengths and apply them as well to areas that might need improvement. We help students create short-term and long-term goals, usually looking at the bigger picture, and then we help students create short-term goals to help them get to the bigger picture, to their long-term goals. Sometimes those goals for our students could be, you're looking at your semester goals. Sometimes students are looking at goals for how can I get through this week? Or how can I get through this day? How can I get through an assignment? So those goals look very different for every student, and sometimes on a weekly basis, those goals might be changing, but knowing that the end goal is to help students reach their long-term goals.
So I'll tell you a little bit about like some of the other things we do. So that's kind of like, I just went blank, sorry. So some of like the specific services we offer students are things like time management. If you want someone to talk to about how to like balance school and work and life and family time, we can kind of talk about that. I think Denise already talked a little bit about goal setting. We help you with study skills, help you figure out like the best place to study, the best strategies for studying. If you always wondered, like, when I go to class and take notes, like what actually should I be writing down? We can kind of help you figure that out. We can help you get organized. If you have a big assignment coming up and you want to brainstorm ideas with us, an academic coach is a great person to sit down and talk to brainstorm ideas for your assignment. If you need help preparing for a test, we help with test taking skills. If you're new to online learning and need someone to walk you through how to use Blackboard, how to use different technologies that come with online learning, we can help with that, as well as even like online learning comes with its own sort of time management strategies, because you don't have a set time that you have to be in class, so you have to kind of figure that out for yourself. So it can help you figure out how you're gonna plan your time and get your work done without the structure of having an in-person class. If you need help with something that we can't help you with, we're good at connecting people to other services. Like if you are struggling with a math problem, we might not be able to help you figure out how to solve that math problem, but we could connect you with the math tutors who would be able to help you. Or if you need someone to critique your essay, we could connect you with the writing center. We help students make appointments with different services at the college all the time. And sometimes academic coaching is about motivation or encouragement. Sometimes students are doing really well and just like to come keep checking in with us every week because we'll encourage you to keep doing well. We'll help you find ways to stay motivated. Basically, like anything that you have problems with that's related to academics or NECO, you can come to us for help. And if we can't help you ourselves, then we'll connect you to the person who can.
So what does meeting with an academic coach look like? So usually the first meeting, depending on when that meeting is happening, the meetings that start at the start of the semester, we usually sit down with students. We start talking about, what is it the students needs and how can we develop an action plan to help the student. And one of those things that we do at the beginning of the semester is help students look over the syllabi, making sure that the student understands, like, what is it that this instructor requires for this course? How many exams? When are my assignments due? What are the materials that I need? So getting the student and making sure that the student is ready and prepared to start the class, but also having a conversation with the student, like, how does the student feel in terms like, are there any areas of concern? Sometimes students will come and they say, like, most of the time is time management, that they need help with time management. Sometimes it's the anxiety of, being a new student or transitioning from high school to college or being out of school for a very long time and not knowing how that's going to look like. So we have those conversations with a student and we help students overcome those roadblocks or barriers, or try to ease some of the anxiety that students might have when they meet with us. Sometimes that first meeting could be in the middle of the semester. We encourage students to meet with an academic coach very early on in the semester, because that way you can start with a good track. But if you end up meeting with an academic coach, in the middle of the semester, it could be because at that point, sometimes students are behind in their classes and they're trying to figure out, how can I get back on track? So those conversations, that first meeting, sometimes depends on when the actual first meeting is happening. The follow-up meetings, it's discussing what we discussed the first meeting, making sure, did the student make progress? And if the student wasn't able to make progress, addressing, so, okay, how can we look at this differently? What worked, what didn't? And also we like to praise students for the progress. Sometimes students don't give themselves enough credit. So we're there as well to let students know that when they come to those follow-up meetings, we're not here, to judge the student. Sometimes we come up with a plan, students are able to do half of it. Sometimes they can do all of it. Sometimes it just doesn't work out the way we planned it during that session. And we want students to know, wait, we don't grade you. We're just here as support to help you have a successful semester. And those meetings, sometimes, like Sarah mentioned in the previous slide, it could be motivation. Sometimes students are coming in feeling overwhelmed, and we take it from there. So we're here to provide that structure and provide encouragement. A lot of our students like to meet with us because we do provide that structure. It's a time for them to sit down and kind of see, like, okay, what is my week or my next week or 2 weeks from now? What is that going to look like? And how can we plan for it? Students usually meet with us once a week or as needed. Referrals are made to other campus resources. Like Sarah said, sometimes we might be connecting students to support services. Could be tutoring, it could be CARS, the Center for Accessibility Resources and Services, it could be counseling services. So again, we try to help the student, so because sometimes there are issues that are not academic issues, and making sure that, you know, those things are also addressed, because we know it's hard sometimes to focus on the academic when something else, you know, on the personal level is, you know, taking away from being able to focus on the academics. Meetings are confidential, so the meetings that students have with their academic coach, that stays within the academic coach. The only time that we might have to report something, you know, obviously if, you know, a student discloses, you know, that they might be in danger of harm or harming themselves, things like that, we do have to report. But other than that, what happens within, you know, the student conversations are confidential. And services are included in tuition. You know, some other colleges, the academic coaching services, they have to pay an extra fee. At Northern Essex, that's already included in the tuition. So I tell students, you know, take advantage. Some of our students, you know, are meeting with us because they want to have a support person on campus. They want to have someone that they know that if they have a question, they can go to that person with a question. So it's not necessarily students who are struggling in their classes, students who also want to have a connection with someone on campus. One thing that I forgot to mention also is that once you start working with an academic coach, that academic coach is your academic coach throughout the semester and moving forward. So we like to build that relationship. So when the student comes back for another appointment, it's not like they have to start all over and explain everything to someone else. Yes, we help one another. If you ever come in and you need help and your coach is not there, we're there to help as well. But we usually, you know, once you start working with that coach will be your coach that semester and throughout your time at Northern Essex.
And so here's some like examples of students who might benefit from academic coaching. So if you are concerned about your academic performance, you know, that's definitely one reason to come. If you are someone who tends to be shy about asking for help from teachers or from different people, like Denise mentioned, having that support person already in place kind of makes it a little bit easier. If you've established a relationship or connection with someone, you know, maybe you're afraid to ask a lot of people for help, but maybe your coach could be like the one person that you do trust to ask for help. Or another thing we've done with students too, sometimes if you need to ask a teacher for help with something, but you're unsure how to word the email, we can even help with that. Like there's been many times where I've helped students figure out how to send like a polite email asking for something for help with the teacher. If you feel like you're overwhelmed with balancing college and other responsibilities, you just want support, like we can help. And maybe you think you're gonna, you know, you've always done really well in classes and you just want to see if you can push yourself to do even better. Because like I said, we can help with study techniques, note taking, test taking, time management, organization. There's a lot of different ways we can help. And you know, and sometimes that's just saying, you know, you're doing a really good job, keep doing it. Sometimes it's just being there to address obstacles as they come up. You know, academic coaching can be a lot of different things for a lot of different students.
And, you know, I do want to mention, you know, as Sarah said, you know, having that person, we have students who come to share good news. So it's nice to know that I have a student who's already at Salem State. This is his second semester. He graduated from Northern Essex and he still sends me messages. Today, he sent me a message. He says like, I want to share with you my schedule for this semester. And he's like, oh, I miss you. I wish I could see you. So it's knowing that you're going to build a relationship with someone. And like Sarah said, sometimes we're that person that you're going to end up going to if you don't know who to ask for help or that you feel comfortable asking for help. So for academic coaching, students can schedule an appointment through Navigate. I'm sure that part of the orientations, you know, I'm sure there was a discussion or will be one about Navigate. And if not, you can send an email to the academic coaching email, and the email will be triaged and an academic coach will reach out to you. Coaching methods are, or you can also walk into the center. It's not there, but you can also walk into the center. So if you are in one of the locations where the academic coaching center is, you can also walk in to either schedule an appointment. If someone's available, they can also see you at that time. So coaching methods, we provide coaching in person, and we also provide coaching via Zoom. And again, like I said, if a student's already working with a coach, we encourage the student to schedule the appointment with the same coach.
And these are our locations. In Haverhill, we're in C211, and in Lawrence, we're in L231. That's in the Franklin Street, the building that's on Franklin Street. Our main hours of service are Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, but we are this semester doing some evening hours. So tentatively on Mondays and Tuesdays, we'll have on Mondays in Haverhill, we'll have some extra hours till 7, and on Tuesdays we'll have virtual appointments going up until 7. In that, you know, as time goes on, that could change, but we're always open the 9 to 5. But we're, you know, when you go to make an appointment and navigate, you'll see if there is any like later availability open.
So now if any student has any questions, we'll be more than happy to answer those questions.
I see a student would like to see the email for academic coaching. Would you all mind putting that in the chat?
Oh, yep. And I just have this app for the Navigate, but I'll put the email in the chat.
Any other questions for our academic coaches? You can definitely say that's one resource that I wish I had used when I was in college. There's a lot of things I didn't use because I didn't know how beneficial they would be. But if you really want to learn how to be a good college student, academic coaching would really be the place to start. Lauren is curious about making an appointment with coaching on Navigate. Any tips for them on that? I know it looks a little different depending on what people are.
So when the student tries to schedule the appointment in Navigate, the first thing that they will click is academic coaching. And I believe the next thing, since if they're a new student and they don't have a coach assigned, I believe the only option that they have is first time appointment. So they'll click on first time appointment. They have to select a location, even though it's virtual. I don't know if that's going to change. So even if you want a virtual appointment, you still have to either select Lawrence or Haverhill. And then at some point, it'll ask you the meeting type. And that's when you can select in person or a virtual appointment. And if it's a student who's already meeting with an academic coach, they should be scheduling a follow-up appointment. And they can, students can schedule an appointment with, based on their availability. So if they see, like a coach is available on a Monday at a certain time at a certain location or via Zoom, and that's what works best for them. But knowing that once they schedule an appointment and they meet with that particular academic coach, moving forward, the best thing is to continue meeting with the academic coach. Once they establish that relationship with an academic coach, the coach will be added to their success team in Navigate. So the next time the student goes into Navigate, they can always look at their success team, click on their academic coach, and just click, want to schedule an appointment. And it's just going to take them to schedule an appointment with their academic coach. They won't see all the other coaches listed.
Jessica, did that help answer your question about how coaches are assigned? Perfect. Yay. One thing I can do at the very end, if anybody wants to stay on a little later, I can try to walk through like what it looks like scheduling an appointment and navigate. So that's definitely something I can, if you have time for it or want to spend time doing that later, I will be available. Any other questions, final questions for academic coaching? If not, you can always send them an email,
Yeah.
or you can reach out to me and I can help connect you as well.
Mhm. Yeah, feel free, if any questions come up after the orientation, a day or two after, feel free to send an email. Like I said, you can stop by any of the other centers as well.
All right. Well, thanks, Sarah and Denise. I'm going to try to be respectful of everybody's time,
Thank
including
you.
yours. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
presenting.
Thank you.
And I'm going to have Sandy take it away. I actually have her slides, so I will need to share those. All right. Thank you both. Appreciate it.
Hi there, everyone. My name is Sandy Rochon. I'm the Director of Career Services, and welcome to the semester. Very happy for you and wishing you all an excellent semester ahead. So I'm joining you this evening to share some information about career services and let you know about the resources and assistance available to support you in your career planning.
One sec. There we go.
There you go. Thank you, Tiffany.
You're welcome.
So before we get into the specific services, though, I did want to take just a moment to talk about career development, like the whole concept of career development, because it is more than just resumes and interviews. It's a whole process with different steps, and those steps are represented in this wheel. And there are things that you will do, hopefully, over time. Don't wait until you're at the end of a program and you're ready to job search and try to get everything done at once. Really, if you can connect with us and do these things over time, they really help to, each step supports the next. And it will help you to feel more relaxed, more confident going into different parts of your career development. So these, and of course, I'm not going to go over each step, but just to give you a sense of the different areas. So they can help you with focusing your career goals, identifying your strengths and your interests, and we can help you get more comfortable with being able to articulate those strengths and interests to potential employers in networking situations, and all of those things. So these steps all work together to set you up for success, and we can help you with all of them. The other thing that's important to keep in mind with career development is that this is something that you'll do throughout your career. It's not something you do once, at your getting your first job, because your skills and strengths and interests may change. You will likely change jobs, probably multiple times throughout your career. You may go to different companies, different positions, have opportunities for promotions or different positions, or you could also encounter unplanned changes, like layoffs or things like that. So we want to make sure that you have this the career development skills and knowledge, like these foundational tools, so that you can navigate changes in your career, you can grow and manage your career with confidence. So we're here to help you with all of those things. And in terms of how we can connect with you in person on either campus, we do have hours at both campuses, and evening hours on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. We can also do virtual appointments. So whichever is more convenient for you. You may see us in your classrooms. Sometimes we'll partner with faculty members and they'll invite us in to do a workshop in a classroom. Or we might have workshops on campus that you could attend, but individual appointments or workshops, either way, you can connect with us, and you can just email us. If you have a quick question about career, or you want to send a resume for email feedback, that is something that you can do as well. And as far as how to schedule appointments, you would do it through Navigate. And the different topic areas that you can choose from are listed here. So those include resumes, cover letters. And in both of those cases, that could be developing one from scratch. Maybe if you've never done a resume or a cover letter, you don't even know where to start. Or you maybe have something and you just want to get feedback on it. So either way, but resumes, cover letters, we can help you prep for interviews. And that could be just knowing what to expect, maybe some questions that you might anticipate, and then helping you think through how you would respond to those questions. You know, what could be your best strategy for that. And after that, we can also do practice interviews. So if a mock interview is something that you'd like to try just to, you know, get the practice on it, we can help with that. We can assist you with LinkedIn and Handshake, both how to use the platforms, but also how to develop your profiles on those platforms, and career exploration, which includes just getting that career focus. Maybe you don't know what you want to do. Maybe you think you have an idea, but you need to learn more. So career exploration, we can support you with. And then of course, job and internship searching. So one of the tools that we use for career exploration is called What Can I Do with This Major? It's a pretty self-explanatory title. And this is a really helpful resource because sometimes people are drawn to a particular major because it interests them, but they don't necessarily know what they want to do with that major. So for example, maybe I know I like psychology. I'd love to learn about psychology, but I'm not exactly sure what my occupational goal is, or I don't even know what those options might be. So this tool is something that we can use to explore that and give you a better understanding of the range of options. You know, if you are a nursing major, that doesn't mean that the only thing you're going to do or you could do is be a nurse. Or if you are a criminal justice major, that doesn't mean that the only thing that you can do with that is to go into law enforcement. There's a lot of different paths with that major. So this tool helps with that. And then another one that we have is called Pathful Explore. And this is very helpful for folks who either don't know what they want to do. You know, maybe you start college and you haven't declared a major because you just don't know. This tool has interest assessments that can really help you to define what areas you're most drawn to and where you might be happiest. This is also good for people who think that they know the direction they want to go, but they want to learn more about it. So for example, let's say I think I want to be a web developer, but my understanding of that occupation is maybe a little bit limited. You know, I need to know more about it. Well, this tool can help you not only learn more about like what a typical day is like as a web developer, but also what are the average salaries in that field, both in this state as well as nationwide. What kind of education is required for that? What kind of growth could I expect in that field, and a whole range of other things. So this platform is very helpful to just gain a better understanding, and you know, so that you're making well-informed decisions, you're making educated decisions, and that will always make you feel more confident. So the last platform that I want to talk about is called Handshake, and that is very useful for job and internship searching, but it's also really helpful for learning about different companies, different industries. So there are virtual events on the platform where you can learn about different fields, you can connect with recruiters, you know, ask them questions, network. Really start to do those pieces of career development, even if you're not actively job searching yet, just to learn more. But as I said, it's good for job and internship searching. That is the primary use of Handshake. And you can set up filters so that you're only getting job alerts on the things that you're interested in, but you can get to it from My NECC. And the sooner you start that, the better, because employers could reach out to you, and you can just start to get that process of learning going, and even just seeing the jobs that are out there. It's good to do that early as well, just to see what's out there. So our locations, I mentioned we are in both Haverhill and Lawrence, as well as virtually. In Haverhill, we're in the Spurk building, C building, second floor, 212B, right next to the elevator and across the hall from academic coaching. The contact information is here, so if you want to reach out anytime, you certainly are welcome to do so. Or, as I said, you can schedule an appointment through Navigate. If anyone has questions at this point related to anything I've mentioned or career services in general, I'd be happy to respond to those.
Any questions for the lovely Sandy? I will say career services is another one of those very underutilized resources. I did not use career services until 2 years after I graduated with my bachelor's degree. And I didn't realize how helpful it was until I actually went and realized, wow, one, I did not know what I was doing when it came to writing a resume, because Googling alone was not enough. But two, it did help me get the job I was looking for. It helped me write my first cover letter. And in retrospect, again, being that first generation student, and I graduated in the 2008 recession, I realized if I had started that journey with career services earlier on, I probably could have found a job that made me not have to work 3 jobs at a time. And I could have just had one big girl job, as I call it, a lot sooner after I graduated. So my journey, part of the reason it took so long to get me to where I am is because I didn't use the resources that were available to me until probably a lot later than I should have. So I highly recommend, if you get an opportunity to meet with career services, they have so much to offer while you're here as a student. And I believe even up to a year after you graduate. So yeah, definitely use career services. They are amazing.
Thank you for the plug, Tiffany. And
You're
I
welcome.
echo that, though. It really is true. And sometimes you don't know what you don't know, and you don't want to be doing something the hard way, or, feeling very uncertain when there's resources here to help you. That's what we're here for. And it absolutely does make a difference. There is all sorts of statistical data that shows that people who work with career services are more effective and in their job searching and with less stress. So who doesn't want that, right?
All right. Well, thank you, Sandy. If anybody else does have any questions, again, you can reach out to Sandy directly, or you can contact me and I can get you in touch with them. But thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Best of luck, everyone. I'll see you around campus. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right. So let me share my screen again. I'm back in the hot seat. Let me minimize this real quick. And next slide. Okay. So we are at 7:08, which tends to happen because I'm a bit of a talker. My apologies. I'm going to try to go through the next slides as quickly as I can, but if you need me to slow down, just let me know. I'm okay with staying on a little longer if I need to, but I know not everybody has all that extra time. So just, let me know if you need me to slow down at any point. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about the library. I did notice in the comments somebody is interested in checking out the library, which is awesome because they have tons of different things available to students. So the library and academic technology, they work closely together. Library has some of your more traditional, what you would expect to find at a library. But then we also have, here, let me start my video so you can don't know if it's working, but anyway, I'm gonna keep going. And academic technology is available to really help you utilize your school technology. So really diving in deeper into Blackboard, how you use your portal, navigate. There's a lot of these things that we've introduced to you already, and you've probably been a little overwhelmed by how many things you can do in these things. But just know that there are tons of people available to walk you through some of those things. So the library, you can get to it just by going to necc.mass.edu/library. On the left sidebar, they have tons of links to some of the different tools they have available. As you can see, there's many ways to reach them as far as texting, chatting, seeing them in person. You can reserve a room if you want to study by yourself or study with some of your classmates. Tons and tons of things you can do on there. If you're wanting to go to the physical spaces, the Dimitri building, the L building on 45 Franklin Street in Lawrence, they are on the lower level or the 0 level. In Haverhill, the A building or Bentley Library, that's right next to the Student Center. That's a much larger library than the one in Lawrence. Even if you are a student who primarily takes classes in Lawrence, you're always welcome to come over to the Haverhill campus for the library or any of the resources that are a little different and available. There also is a shuttle now that goes between campuses, so that's free for students if you're wanting to check out stuff on the opposite campus. They're also available, as I mentioned, by chat, Zoom, in person. So lots of ways you can get help from the library, regardless of what your preference is. For off-campus access, you will need to use your 8-digit student ID number. If you have forgotten that, I can also help you find that. But the way they have you log in is you add 203850 to your 8-digit student ID number, so it becomes a really long number. And then your password would be your 8-digit birth date. So you have the month, the day, and then the year coming after that. And that will help you access all the materials that are available online. They have research guides. So if you're having to do research for any papers or projects, they can help with that. There's lots of help with citation. I know if people are not as familiar with MLA or APA, or they just find it kind of stressful, they have lots of resources to help with that. They have a whole citation guide also that to include Chicago style, how to cite in text, bibliographies, all that super fun stuff. There's also what you, again, would expect from a library. They have physical books. They also have ebooks. They have downloadable audiobooks. They've got access to 70 different databases where you can access videos, articles, anything that you could need to support your schoolwork, but also some stuff for personal interest. They have study spaces and a whole bunch of computers. Some of the courses have course reserves. So that means they may put certain books on reserve that you could check out at the library for like a couple hours or such, and then you just return it when you're done with it. They also have anatomical models, which is really cool, especially if you might be taking, say, anatomy and physiology or some other type of biology course, chemistry, those kinds of things. They have 3D models that you can use to help with mastering your learning, especially if you're a very visual or hands-on learner like I am. That's super helpful. And of course, the librarians are there to walk you through all those things. If you have any questions, you can email them at reference@necc.mass.edu. You can text them, you can call them. They have live chat all of the hours that the library is open. Definitely take advantage of the library, even if you just want a quiet space to chill between classes. It's a really nice, welcoming environment. In addition to all of that, as I mentioned, if you are having trouble or have questions about Blackboard, Microsoft Office, Word, Excel, email, passwords, any other software that you need for your courses, there are people trained to really dive deeper into that and make sure that you are able to use it to the best of your ability. They have people available on both the Haverhill and Lawrence campuses. Again, it would be in the Haverhill Library and in the Dimitri building. So remotely, they have chat available, as you saw before, for the generic library services. I will show a flyer shortly about some of their online course success workshops. But if you want to reach out to them directly, you can contact Jacob Queering and the Haverhill campus or Rowan Blackwood on the Lawrence campus. They are awesome. And again, there's no reason why you should have to suffer to try to get through, the first few weeks of your classes. There are tons of people available to help with that. But even well beyond the first couple weeks of classes, there's still plenty of support. So I'm going to keep on moving. This is where a lot of you probably have most of your questions about. So I'm hopefully going to answer most of them. And then, of course, anything I didn't capture, or if you need me to explain it again, we'll have time for that at the end. So this is the correct flyer for Weeks of Welcome. So as I mentioned, the first 4 days of classes, we will have welcome tables for getting directions, any first day of class type of questions. But then that will segue into our official Weeks of Welcome programming. So that'll be September 11th through September 20th. This is a chance to really learn even more about resources, meet people that work at the college, meet other students, other opportunities to get prepared for the semester, and hopefully to have a little bit of fun. You can sign up for the events ahead of time if you want to get reminders, or you can just show up. There's a QR code where you can go directly to the link to sign up for events if you want to get those reminders, and you can choose text or email reminders. And then there's also a link to a short link to the NECC WOW page on our website, and that will give you more information about what events are coming up. Some of them are just info sessions, others are actual activities. But I encourage you to try to participate if you can in any way that you can, because this is the time to make those connections with people at the college. If you wait until you're already stressed out halfway through the semester, burnt out, it's a little harder to make those connections. But if you make it early on when you're still kind of excited and everything's new and fun, that is a good time to get to know people. And yeah, so I encourage you, I challenge you again to consider participating in at least one event. This is the online learning success resources that I mentioned that the academic technologists help with. So on the left of this flyer, we have the online course success workshops. So they have some coming up next week in both Lawrence and Haverhill. And those are opportunities for you to come in person if you are someone who's taking online courses, either completely or partially, if you have a hybrid class, or if you're taking a class that is fully on campus. A lot of times professors like to use Blackboard to upload assignments, keep track of grades, share documents, those kinds of things. So even if you're not an online only student, you may still find that you are using the online resources. So if you want some one-on-one assistance to walk through all of that, you can sign up at the bit.ly link, or you can scan the QR code and pick a day or time that works for you. There's also a virtual option as well, and they will really walk you through to make sure you feel like you know how to get through your classes that are online. There is also the Prep for Success online course. It's not too late to sign up for that. It did technically start on the 4th, but as we know, with online classes and our students, not everybody signs up at the very beginning or before the semester starts. So if that's something you want to participate in, it's not too late, but you'd have to sign up like right away. And basically that is a mini online course about online learning. So it would pop up in your Blackboard as a class, and you would work through the modules, nothing too hardcore, very easy things. But the idea is to help you practice working through how an online class might work. So that way, when you're doing your actual online classes or hybrid classes, you feel confident in, what it is you're looking for and how to use it. So other helpful tips to keep in mind as you are preparing for the start of classes tomorrow, or some of you may be starting a little later depending on how your schedule looks. I highly recommend that you double check your schedule either tonight or tomorrow or whatever the first, before your class starts. Because once in a blue moon, the classroom might change. So this more importantly would affect students that are on campus. But it's really important to double check ahead of time just to be sure, especially if you registered way back in, say, April or May, because it's not fun to go to the wrong classroom. It happens. Just know if it happens to you, it's totally normal. It happens all the time the first week of school. But if you're someone like me who has anxiety, it's better to look ahead so you don't have to put yourself through that. So there's a couple ways you can check your schedule. You can either go into your MyNECC portal, and there's a section called Student Frequently Used Tools. You can click on Student Schedule, the link there, and you will select the fall 2023 semester, and then it will pull up your schedule so you can double check. You can also pull up your schedule and navigate. Some of you may have already downloaded the app. It's not a requirement, but it can be helpful at least during that first week of school. So say you have a printed copy of your schedule that you got from an advisor, and then you forgot the printed copy at home and you came to campus. You may want to have the app on your phone ready to go or have a screenshot of your schedule just so you're not stressing out trying to remember what your classes are. However, if that should happen to you, you can also stop by the welcome tables and they can help you figure out where you need to go. So interpreting your schedule. So depending on whether you had it printed or you're looking it up online, they all can look a little different format-wise, but there are some basic things to keep in mind when you're trying to interpret what it is your schedule is saying. If you have an on-campus class, it's going to have a very specific start time and end time. And you're going to see there's a campus, building, location, and a room number. And that's obviously where you would go. For an online class, in the time section, it's either going to be blank or say TBA, because there's no specific time that you need to sign into Blackboard to work on your courses. It really is that you just have to sign in and actually go there or go in there. So if we are looking at this schedule here, we see the title of the classes, how many credits it's worth. The CRN is just the specific code number that we use to register or drop the course. The dates here will tell you when the first day of that class is until it ends. This may look a little confusing to some students if they see like they have two classes and it looks like they're starting at two different times, but they may have different classrooms. So that's something you want to keep in mind. Over here in days, most of it is pretty straightforward. M is Monday, 2 is Tuesday, W is Wednesday. The one that always throws student off is the R. There is no R day. That will be Thursday. So just know if you see that, that's Thursday, because if they put T and T instead of T and R, it would be really hard to separate the 2 days that start with the same letter. Then you'll have your time. So if you have that physical on-campus class, you're going to see the start time. For example, this chemistry would start on Tuesday, 5:30 p.m., and it would end at 8:50. The next part you want to look at is the campus location. So if you see an L, that means it's in Lawrence. If you see an H, that means it's in Haverhill. And if you see ON, that means it's an online class. So it's not physically on the campus, it's just on your computer. Next, you will see building. The way we try to differentiate, again, is in Lawrence, all the buildings, their short lettering always starts with an L. So you'll see like an LA, an LC, an LH. All those are different buildings that are on the Lawrence campus. If you see A, B, C, E, I think the fitness center is D. We got TC, SC. If you see any of those types of letters that do not have an L in it, those will be different buildings on the Haverhill campus. And then again, if you see ON, it's an online class, so there is no building. Lastly, you have the room number, things to remember. If it starts with a 1, it's on the first floor, 2, second floor, and so on. However, if you are in the Dimitri building and you see that you have a zero number, that just means you're on the basement level below the first floor. And then you'll also see your instructors' names. Oop, going too fast. Sorry about that. Okay. Definitely see there's some questions in there. I will definitely make sure I get back to those at the end. Locating courses in Blackboard. So one thing that a lot of advisors are getting emails about is students are freaking out that they have not seen their class in Blackboard yet. And that is because the professors are not required to turn it on until that first day of class. So if you've been in Blackboard and you haven't seen it in there, it's probably because it won't be in there until tomorrow, September 6th. Sometimes professors might turn it on the day or two before, but that's usually because they don't want to forget to turn it on the first day, which sometimes happens. So if for some reason on the first day of class you don't see your class in there, it's possible the professor didn't turn it on yet. And so you can reach out to me, or you can reach out directly to your professor and we can try to remind them politely to turn it on. But on the first day, when you sign in, you should see your courses in course list, and you'll just click on the title of the course and it will open it up. There's lots of other links around here where you see faculty resources. In this example, you would have a tab that says student resources. Feel free to look around, get familiar with it. You can click on anything. You're not going to break it, I promise. But for the first week of school, you just want to focus primarily on the course list, just so you can get in there and start seeing what it is you need for your class. Technology needs. So we don't have a requirement of having a laptop or a desktop computer. However, we know that technology is kind of important these days. So if you are somebody who was thinking of purchasing a new laptop for school and you're kind of not sure what kind to get, we do have a page that has recommendations. So if you are somebody who is maybe an engineering major or a graphic design major, you may need a laptop or computer that has different capabilities to handle more. Whereas if you're, say, an English or history major, you may not need, top of the line, hardcore laptop materials. So that can be helpful if you're trying to make a decision. Obviously, you need to keep in mind, do you have internet access? And that's, probably the case for both online and a little bit on campus as well. This website here, wifispc.com, is really cool because, say for some reason your Wi-Fi has gone out on your computer, you can always look up other places that have Wi-Fi. So the campus has Wi-Fi, but you can also find coffee shops, fast food restaurants, wherever you are in the US. So that's really cool. Especially if you're someone who's taking online classes and maybe you're out of town or on vacation and you still want to knock out your schoolwork. Another thing to keep in mind is if you're finding that your internet seems kind of slow at home, you could do a speed test at speedtest.net to see how up to date the speed is on your internet. If you find that it's way slower than it should be, you may want to talk to your internet provider and see if they can bump it up a little bit. If you don't have a computer currently in your home, there's a couple ways you might be able to get access to one. For students who receive financial aid, if you have extra money left over after you had it applied to your tuition and fees, you could potentially use extra towards purchasing a laptop from the bookstore. Or you can use computers on either campus in the computer labs while we're open. Or even if you have a computer at home, but say it just stopped working for some reason or whatever the case may be, you always have that option of coming to campus and using our computers. We also have free campus Wi-Fi. So for students, when you're on the campus, you can sign into the main NECC secure network just by using your NECC student ID number and your password, the password that you use for your My NECC portal and your student email. However, sometimes it doesn't work automatically. So if you have that issue, you can always contact the IT help desk, or you can stop by their locations in Dimitri or in the Haverhill Library, and they can manually help set you up. But if you don't have time for that, there is also an NECC visitor account that you could sign in with your first and last name and and your email address if you need to get access sooner. Another free thing students have access to as a student is Microsoft Office. So most of you at this point are probably familiar with accessing the Outlook email. But when you're in there, on the left-hand side, you have all these icons to different programs that are also free. So there's OneDrive storage, which is very similar to Google Drive, where you can save documents, share them with other people. There's Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Teams messaging. These are all things that, should you be purchasing a new laptop or computer, they often try to sell you that stuff. So save yourself some money and use the free option that comes as being a student here. Another plug for checking your email daily. Not only will that primarily be the place that professors, advisors, student accounts, financial aid will contact you, that's also the place that any Navigate appointment reminders are going to go. If you get invitations to any programs like PACE or SOAR or leadership programs, those are all going to go there. The weekly events and updates email, that's something that comes out every Tuesday, and I highly recommend that at least on Tuesdays, you just kind of skim through it and see if there's anything that might be relevant or useful to you, because that's where a lot of important announcements are going to be, as well as letting you know what upcoming events there will be as well. You don't have to check it every day, but try to check it a few times a week if you can. Another plug for reading the syllabus. This is probably the most important thing you're going to do the first week of class. Is whether you're online in a Blackboard course, you're going to try to look for your syllabus, or if you're in an on-campus class, your teacher should be giving you a printed copy of that. And this will have everything you need to know about the class and what to expect, both from the teacher and also what they expect of you as a student. There usually is also a course schedule, so they include dates of what assignments there will be and when they'll be due. So if you're trying to gauge if this is the right course for you, that's a great place to start when you're trying to decide if you're going to make any adjustments to your schedule. Textbooks and course materials. So this is a big question for a lot of students is, what books do I need? So the easiest way to find out what you need is you can go to the bookstore website, neccstore.com. And when you go in there, which I will also show the flyer, you will add your student ID number and it will pull up your whole schedule and all the books that might be required. Once you're in there, there's a few different options you have for how to order books or purchase books. Probably the easiest way for a lot of people is to just go to the Haverhill Campus Bookstore in the Student Center and just go to the physical bookstore on the second floor. You can go in there with your schedule and they will help you figure out what books you need. Another option is you can order it online and have it sent to your home for a flat rate of $7.99. So whether you get $250 of textbooks or $50 of textbooks, it's the same fee for shipping. You can also order online and then pick it up at the Haverhill Campus Bookstore for free. So if you kind of know what you want, but you just want to grab it from the bookstore and not pay the shipping fee, that's also an option. Or if you are primarily located in Lawrence and you prefer to pick up your books from there, unfortunately, there's no longer a physical bookstore in Lawrence. So what they have done is students who want to pick up in Lawrence, they can order their books and materials online, and then you will work with the bookstore to arrange a pickup date in the Dimitri building, and then they'll bring the books over there and you guys can meet to pick up. Another plug for the weekly newsletter on Tuesdays. The bookstore sometimes changes their hours throughout the semester, either to make them longer or a little shorter. So that's another reason to check periodically. And then book vouchers. So those have already started. This again is financial aid related. If you are a recipient of financial aid, that you applied and have been approved, and then there's money left over after they've already paid tuition and fees, you can use that money potentially to help pay for books at the bookstore. If you are eligible for this, you should have already received an email from financial aid, or if you haven't found the email or you're still not sure, have questions about it, you can also contact financial aid directly. After this, I will also share, when I email you all after the presentations, I will include a link to more information about how to use book vouchers as well. Some purchasing tips. Some students like to purchase books outside of the school's bookstore, and that's okay. When you are looking up your schedule on the bookstore website, you're going to see each of those books has something called an ISBN number, and that is the identification number that ensures you get the correct edition. So if you're looking on Amazon for used books, or you're looking at chegg.com for rentals, or whatever the case may be, make sure you're using that number so that you're getting the correct book. Otherwise, if it's a couple editions ago, it could be a few chapters off, pages are off, and that's just going to create more work that you don't want. If you are taking any math classes or science classes, you are automatically going to be using something called Follett Access. So you will already have paid for that as part of the course fee. So you don't have to pay extra, and you will not have to purchase those things from the bookstore. What will happen is when you start your class, your instructor is going to explain how to use those materials and will give you the code to access it. So it's not going to be a physical textbook. It's going to be more of like a portal where you can access all the text materials, study guides, questions, quizzes, those kinds of things. Another thing to keep an eye out for when you are looking up your schedule is there is something called Free Open Education Resources, or OER. If you see that in there, that means that your instructor has chosen free materials that are open access to everybody. So you will not have to purchase books at the bookstore. That again, your instructor, when class starts, will tell you how to access those materials, whether they're in Blackboard or through the library or wherever it is that they are getting those resources from. Here's just a quick little visual. Again, if you're trying to look up your textbooks, you go to neccstore.com, scroll down a little bit to the Get Your Textbook section, type in your student ID number, press enter. Oop, went too fast, sorry about that. You're gonna click your the session that you want. So in this case, it would be fall 2023. You'd click to find your courses, and then your whole schedule will pop up for you to see what books or materials are required. Oh, one other thing to mention, some classes may have materials that are not posted in the bookstore. So sometimes with like maybe an art class, you might get a materials list. And those could be purchased at the bookstore, but you may also find them cheaper at other places around town. So that's another reason to pay close attention to your syllabus, because usually there's a materials list if the class requires it in there as well. Bookstore hours. If you are coming to the physical bookstore or you're trying to contact them, they have extended hours this week. So they are open till 6 p.m. through Thursday, and then they're open till 2 p.m. on Friday. Next week, they're going to go back to their normal hours. So they'll close at 5, and then Fridays they close at 1. For your student ID and parking permit, obviously, because we're doing this online, you can't get that right now. However, you can get these at any time from either campus when you're able to get over there. So in Lawrence, the Welcome Express desk is in the Dimitri building on 45 Franklin Street. And then in the Haverhill campus, the Welcome Express is located in the Student Center. And you can get both of these at those Welcome Express windows. For your student ID, that is something you can use to access library resources. You can use it to access the computer labs on campus. You can use it to access the fitness center in Haverhill. You can use it to take the MVRTA bus for free, as well as the campus shuttle that goes between our campuses. You can use it to check into student life events or athletics events, especially if you're getting the student discount. And also, too, there are a lot of places in the community that offer student discounts, like museums, sometimes different restaurants or movie theaters. So it's good to have. You may not use it very often, but you never know when you can save a little bit of money with a student discount. Obviously, your picture will be taken. It's not the best quality, but if you want to get, done up, you can. Just make sure you bring a photo ID with you and your student ID number, and they'll be able to schedule or set that up for you. For the parking passes, it's not as big a deal in Haverhill as there's a lot more parking, but definitely in Lawrence, things are a little tighter out there. So it's really important if you are going to drive to campus that you get one of the parking hang tags. So what's nice about those is they're no longer stickers. So you can just put them over the rearview mirror on any car that you're using, or if you have to borrow someone's car or something like that. Each semester you get a new sticker to show that you're currently a student, and it will help you from not getting a ticket. So that's a big plus. But either of these, you can go whenever the college is open, anytime this week that they're open, next week. It's not like an immediate need for everybody. And if you're an online only class, these are still good to have because, like I said, you may find that you want to come to campus for a various reason, whether it's an event or maybe you just want a quiet space away from your home to study and you want to use the computer lab or whatever the case may be. So it's good to have these just in case. But again, you can get those at your convenience. Some important dates to be aware of. Obviously, tomorrow's the first day of the fall semester. However, depending on what your class schedule looks like, say you're on a Tuesday, Thursday schedule, your first day may not be until Thursday. So just keep in mind when you're looking at your schedule at what your actual first day will be. But definitely if you're doing online classes or hybrid classes, the Blackboard portion will be starting tomorrow. Add drop period. This is important if you are finding that you need to make schedule changes, either adding classes, dropping classes. A lot of times in the first week of class, you'll figure out really quickly if a class is going to be for you, or maybe you registered for 4 or 5 classes and you realize that's going to be too much for you. If you're going to want to make any of those kinds of changes, you want to do that by September 12th. So that way you can get a full refund. After that, it becomes the withdrawal period. So that's a slightly different process. You would not get a refund during the withdrawal period. But it's important to be aware of because sometimes things happen during the semester. You might get sick or somebody in your family has some challenges. Anything can happen. So if you are struggling at any point in the semester, definitely reach out to an advisor and or financial aid. If you have financial aid, you can reach out to me. It's important that you have that discussion so that you can decide if that's the best choice for you or not. Again, if you reach out early enough, usually there's things that the professors can do, that your advisors can do to try to help you not have to get to the point of withdrawing. But it is important to remember that there is a deadline for that, which is November 22nd. So should something happen after the add drop period and you decide withdrawing is an option you want to explore, do it before November 22nd, because after that, it's too late and you just have to kind of take the grade that you have earned by that point. Another important date to be aware of is that November 6th is spring summer registration beginning. So if you are somebody who maybe registered within the past week, you probably found it was hard to find some classes. If you want first choice of classes and having a really good schedule, definitely as early as possible would be time to register for those classes. And then, of course, everybody's favorite, the semester ends officially December 19th. Some students, it might end a little sooner depending on when their finals are, and that's okay. If you are wondering what other dates there are, you can go into the academic catalog, and there are links to that in your portal. In there is also a link to the academic schedule. So if you're looking for different holidays or deadlines and you want to put them on a digital calendar or your planner, that's a great way to get that information. Professors usually put that on their syllabus as well. But I also like to count down to holidays when I can either get a break, or back in the day when I used to catch up on work I was behind on. So I encourage you to take a peek and get that information down if you can. This is something I'm going to email you. It covers a lot of the stuff that I talked about today and maybe a couple extras, but I will include that in my email. Just a little checklist to help you keep track of anything you may not have done yet or that you didn't know you might need to consider doing. And hopefully that will be helpful for some. And we have made it towards the end. So definitely this is a lot of information. I'm very much aware of it. We do not expect you to have memorized all of this. It's really just an opportunity to introduce you to what's available, and give you some things to think about. So hopefully you feel a little readier for the start of school. I am available to help in any way. If I don't know the answer, I will figure out who knows the answer and make sure you get in touch with them. You can email orientation. That comes to me and my colleague, Krista. But you can also text or call that phone number as well, and that comes to both of us. The one other thing I forgot to mention, though, is if you have on-campus classes and you want to just kind of go on campus and wander around, even if your class doesn't start tomorrow, and maybe it doesn't start till Thursday or next Monday or whatever, you're more than welcome to walk around the campus and kind of look around and get familiar with things, locate your classroom. You know, these campuses are for you. So definitely don't be afraid of taking advantage of exploring and see what is available to you. So I'm going to now jump into taking a peek at the chat. I see that there were some questions in there. I will put my video back up so you're not just talking to my name or listening to my name. All right, so yes, you can rent textbooks from the bookstore. So it's not only just purchasing, you can also rent books from them. And then you would just want to make sure you return it at the end of the semester. I believe I answered the other textbook questions as far as like, where's the location? You can go there during their normal hours. You don't have to schedule an appointment or anything to go there. Let's see. So there's some folks that may have to just take a specific look at their schedule to make sure I interpret it correctly. If you have a hybrid class, when you look at your schedule, you'll probably see that class listed either 2 times or you'll see it once, but it'll have 2 parts to it. And one of those parts will be the online part, which you would definitely just sign into Blackboard for. The on-campus part of the hybrid would mean you'll see a physical location and it'll say a day and a time. So whatever that day and time is, that's when you're going to want to come to campus. If the class doesn't start till after the first day of class, you may not find much in Blackboard. Sometimes the professors give you more information on the first physical day of class. Others give you stuff to look at online first, and then they give you more information when the class physically starts. So the hybrid class is a little different, but it is kind of the best of both worlds because you get a little bit of on-campus and a little bit of online. So let's see, Rochelle. Yes, your schedule probably doesn't look the same. There are a few different versions of the schedule depending on where you're looking. The example I used in the presentation, that was through self-service banner. There is also a way to just get to your student's schedule through the student frequently used tools. There's also a printed version you may have gotten from your advisors, or they may have sent you a copy. And then there's also the version that's in Navigate. It doesn't really matter which version you have. The main thing is that you're looking for those key things. So you're looking for the days, the times, the physical locations, and then just trying to remember that, you know, ON or a blank or TBA means it's an online class with no specific time, and making sure you're interpreting like the actual days of the week correctly. But again, those are also things I'm happy to either schedule sometime. I know it's getting kind of late, but I'm happy to meet one-on-one with anybody. I'm primarily physically located in the Haverhill campus, so you can always pop in there, but I will always make a trip to Lawrence if anybody needs me. And I'm also happy to communicate through text, through Zoom, whatever's easiest if you just want kind of like a one-on-one explanation session. Let's see, account number for financial aid. So if you are somebody who is able to use a book voucher, you should have received an email from them with instructions on that. If you can't locate it, then you may just want to speak to financial aid directly. If you don't have their direct contact information, I will try to get that to you. Just let me know that you need it because I don't want to forget. There's a lot of folks here. how to find the calendar on the website. So they did do a website upgrade. A lot of stuff got changed around. So I can't remember exactly where to click to find it, but you can usually go to the search function on the website and you can type academic calendar. Or you can go into your MyNECC portal and there's different links to either academic catalog or academic calendar. You can also get to the calendar through the catalog link. So either one of those terms you can use. Just make sure it gives you the option to separate the different school years. So if you are looking at the catalog or the calendar, make sure you're looking at this current school year. So this would be 2023 to 2024. Let's see. So someone missed the part about the IDs. So IDs you can get at either of the campuses, Haverhill or Lawrence. You would check in at the Welcome Express desk, either in the Dimitri building in Lawrence or the Student Center in Haverhill. You can come anytime during normal business hours. And you can get it anytime. So if you go to class first and then get your ID after, that's totally fine. It's not required to like get into your class. It's more for all those extra things you might be doing, as well as discounts, because I'm all about saving money wherever that's possible. Even in graduate school, my graduate school I did online and it was 3 hours away. I still got my student ID because I was going to get my student discounts whenever I could. Let's see. Regarding work study, I believe it will be open for applications tomorrow on Handshake. Around what time will I be able to apply for the jobs? I'm not sure the specific time, but I definitely, as a general rule of thumb, I don't expect anything to be on there before 9 a.m. just because that's our typical working hours is the 9 to 5. But definitely you can go take a look in there tomorrow at 9 or after. If you don't see that the work study jobs are in there, you can also reach out to financial aid and just kind of remind them, or you can check in with Sandy, who you met from Career Services, because she works with financial aid to make sure those get posted in there. I see a question about study buddies. So if you are in the Navigate app and you are in a class and you maybe are having a hard time connecting to your classmates, but you want to find people to study with, there is a function in Navigate where basically you can post that you're looking for a study buddy, and then other people can mention that they're looking for a study buddy. And if you're able to connect basically through the app with other people that are looking for study partners. And then once it connects you together, you're able to communicate with each other and then decide if you want to study in the library or on Zoom or through WhatsApp or however it is you want to study. So that's a pretty cool function, especially if there's just not enough time in the class time to figure out people who want to study with you. Tasks in Blackboard. That's one I may have to double check on. I don't think I know that one offhand. That's definitely something the academic technology people would probably know for sure. Yeah, I'll have to take a look at that. What materials should I have on hand always? Is it better to take notes online or on paper? Honestly, it's a personal preference. I know probably for a lot of people in high school, their teachers were maybe more specific about what they might need to do, like have a special color folder and that kind of thing. In college, you really are just going to find what works best for you. So, and that might change from semester to semester. Some semesters I would use like 1 5-subject notebook, and then I would just take my notes in that and stuff my syllabus or any other papers they gave me into the little folders. Sometimes I was like, that's getting too heavy or I'm running out of room. So then I would have different notebooks for each section or so for each class. And then I would only bring that book on the day that I had that class. I found once I was doing online only, because I was on the computer so much, I ended up taking more of my notes on the computer. Also, I'm a faster typer than I am a writer. So I found that for those classes, it ended up being easier for me to do online notes. But ultimately, it's whatever's going to help you learn best. And if something's not working, it's okay to change it. Like if it's just more trouble than it's worth, try something different. because you may find that there's more efficient ways to do that. I have another question about how do you get the book voucher? So there's a couple different ways. You can either go online and I do have a sheet about that, so I will include that in my email after this. But there's also students who are eligible should have gotten an email from financial aid to their student email account, and that should give you instructions on how to use the book voucher online. Otherwise, you can go to the in-person bookstore on the Haverhill campus, and basically the bookstore works with financial aid and communicates with them to know who has a book voucher, and then they help them fill it out, and then basically financial aid will pay the bookstore what it's worth. So you can either, again, try online through the bookstore website, or you can just physically go in person if that's easier for you and less stressful. I find sometimes just doing things in person can be less stressful, but it can be different from everybody. So I don't expect that my experience is the same as everybody else's. Do school buildings ever close, or are they always open just in case anybody wants to study? So they do close at some point, I believe, but we have some classes that go on until almost 10 o'clock at night. So most buildings are open fairly late, maybe not 1 o'clock in the morning late, but pretty late. I will say, like, places like the Student Center or the Dimitri building, a lot of our services may have closed. Like, I would go home at 5 p.m. because I can't work all day long. But the Student Center would still be open. So if students wanted to go on the second floor and study in the Knights Nook or the study cubes, those are generally open still. The very open SGA student life study spaces, those are usually open and after hours. I know the library often has extended hours. So even if you're just chilling in like the Dimitri lobby, there's tables and stuff around, like, there's spaces all over. So even if our main services are not open at that time, odds are there's times where you can still come to campus and study in the later hours. Let's see. Oh, that's a good question, Alexa. I have 11 credits in-person classes and another 3 credits in the online class. Do I need to submit immunization records since only 11 credits are in person? So I'm not 100% on that. My guess would be that probably yes, you would still submit the immunization records. But if you want to know for sure, I would recommend contacting enrollment services. They can be reached at enrollment services at necc.mass.edu, which I can put that in the chat actually. And then, or you can call their number just to be certain, because I don't want to pretend I know the answer if I don't really. Okay, so I put their email and their phone number in the chat. They're also a great resource for a lot of general questions you might have that may be a little more advanced than basic stuff I would know. But even then, you could still start with me and I'll help you connect to them. Let's see, as a remote learner, are classes in video form or just reading what they give out? So that can vary. Again, it's a case-by-case, instructor-by-instructor thing. So some instructors will record themselves speaking. Others like to incorporate like good videos that somebody else has already created on YouTube or other places that they think capture what it is they want you to learn. Sometimes it is readings. Some of them will use online articles. Some of them will use actual textbooks. Some will use research articles that they've gotten from the library. So it's really kind of a mixed bag. The main thing to know, though, is there will be no like required Zoom sessions where you have to be on there at like X amount of time to get credit. It's not like that. But most teachers try to put a variety of options in there, so that way students aren't only doing the same thing the entire time. Again, that could depend on a professor. I think if there's anything else I wanted to mention about that. Oh, the only other thing I did want to mention is a lot of the professors may offer office hours remotely. So those would be times where there would be a specific time if you want to ask your professor questions, but you can also email them. Some of them give you a number that you can reach out to. A lot of them, if they're a full-time faculty member, might have an office on campus. So if you would just rather talk to them in person, you can also schedule a time to meet. Let's see, if I'm only taking one course, would I still have access to all services? Yes. So whether you're taking one class or 5 or 6 classes, all of these things are included. So definitely like I said, your journey is your own, but those resources are there, whatever your journey looks like. So if you want to use tutoring, that's available in person, online, coaching, as you've seen, career services, Center for Accessibility Resources and Services. You have access to all the stuff that's online as well as on campus. So don't ever restrict yourself from what's available, because that's part of your student experience as well. And odds are you've probably already paid for it with your student fees. So you might as well take advantage of everything that we have as much as you can. Okay, I think I got through all the questions in the chat. Any other questions I could help answer at this time? It's okay if you can't think of anything right now. What I will do is I'm gonna just again put most of you probably have seen my email already, but just to have it. So that's my email. The number there, you can call or text. Text is usually easier because that goes straight to my email inbox and then I know to go reply. But if you need me to call, please just make sure you leave a voicemail if I'm not able to answer so I know who I'm calling back. Lauren has a question about what to expect tomorrow in general. So if you're an online student, honestly, it's pick a time, anytime during the day tomorrow to sign into Blackboard and just see if your class is in there. Most teachers should have it in there by 5 p.m. If for some reason, again, they did not turn it on, just let me know or reach out to your professor and politely remind them to do that. If you have an in-person class, really it's, I know some people like to do things at the last second. I recommend not doing that on the first day of class. So if you are still kind of figuring out where your class is, or you're not sure how much parking is going to take up as far as time goes, I say get there a little early, find a parking spot, walk to where your class is. Better to be, 5 to 10 minutes early, just so you find it, you can kind of relax. And then you would just walk into your class, have a seat. Your professor will introduce themselves, tell you more about the class, give you your syllabus. And then obviously it'll depend how many classes you have. If you have back-to-back classes, then as soon as that one's done, you'll go to the next class. If you only have one class, you're welcome to stay on campus and take care of any other things that you needed to do. So if you wanted to get the ID or permit, or you have questions for financial aid or any other things that you wanted to take care of that we couldn't do obviously physically here in the Zoom, that's definitely something you could do. You can always also just explore the campus too. Feel free to definitely stop by the WOW tables if you are in person, or if you're online, you can also just come to campus and get your little free bag. There's some goodies in there, but there's also some more information about some of the other things that I couldn't squeeze into orientation. So yeah, I would say as far as things to bring, just something to write with. You can bring a little notebook or a notepad. Usually it's the first day is more of the professor talking about what the class is about and not so much jumping right in. But again, it depends on the teacher. Any other questions? All right. Well, it is 8:03, and I know I talked your ears off. I hope that you all feel a little better about what to expect. As soon as I'm able to, once this recording's available, I will email everybody the things that I promised I would email, including access to this recording. So that way, if you wanted to play over any parts, you have access to that. And then I will also send out a little survey. Obviously, the in-person parts wouldn't apply. But if you could let me know what you think, if there's anything specific you wish I had included that hopefully will benefit future students, definitely include that. But otherwise, I appreciate you all joining me here tonight, and I'm available if you need anything. So Again, no question's a dumb question. I'm here for you. All right. Thank you, everybody in the chat. I hope you all have a great evening as well and an awesome first week of classes. You are very welcome. Let's stop recording.